Hello everyone and welcome to Ginger Prime. My name's Brian if you're new around here, but if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back, you smashingly magnificent warrior of light. Yes, that's right. That's what you get for subscribing, by the way. Free compliments at the start of these videos. Today, we're going to be diving into the Sage. This is my controller guide, and so you can always use the chapter markers below to jump to any particular section. We're going to go a little bit further today and highlight the various placements that I've got, not only on my hotbar and cross-hotbar setup, but also why I've kind of placed them there. This is a primer, so right now Sage unlocks at level 70, and you can take it all the way up to level 90 at the time of this recording. If you're watching this video sometime in the future, you can always check the top link in the description for the Final Fantasy playlist, or you can check out the Endwalker controller playlists for any updated guides, so that way you're getting the most up-to-date information possible. If this video is a help and you haven't subscribed yet, please, I ask you to do so, and let me know if you do so I can welcome you officially to the channel in the comments below. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in. If you've already got your controller set up and you've seen any of my other controller guides, or if you're looking for more in-depth controller guides, I recommend the Ultimate Controller Guide. It will be linked in the description. But note that this is a section that you can go ahead and skip because we've already covered this before. But if you're new here, this is how you go ahead and get started. Under System and Character Configuration, you're going to see the gamepad and mouse and keyboard mode. In fact, even in mouse and keyboard mode, your controller will still work. The game works like flawlessly well between the two, and you actually get your own different UI setup, so you can choose which version that you want to use. I rock the controller gamepad mode. I use legacy type base movement, and if we go ahead and jump into targets and filters, outside of a few quests that you have to run as a Sage, that's more for like an opinion piece down the road, note that I essentially focus in on whenever my weapon is drawn, I only focus in on enemy NPCs, in the case the enemy filter. And there's a couple predefined filters that you can see here in the when my weapon is sheathed. You can notice that both times in my targeting, party members are not selected because you can actually directly target party members by hitting up and down on the D-pad with no actions are actually being set. Let me kind of highlight that. I don't have anybody in my party, but if I press up and down, it will in fact even target me in this case. If I press left and right, it'll start to target anything and everything that is selectable because my weapon isn't out. If I press down on the left stick as a click with weapon drawn, now I'm only targeting like these striking dummies over here and one striking dummy off in the far off distance. Well, hello, other striking dummy. All right. So just note that is a way of having advanced filters, so that way you're not spending a lot of time trying to target and things like that. Now, there are more advanced ways that you can do targeting, and again, the Ultimate Controller Guide, which is linked below, will really give you a lot of detail. A couple other questions that commonly are asked of me, if we go back to character configuration and hotbar settings, is if I go to custom, the custom tab here, this is where you can set the expanded cross hotbar and the W cross hotbar, or the X or the double cross hotbar, as that's what they're intended, but it's abbreviated WXHB. These are set to hot 2 and 3, and this is set to hot 3 left and right. So notice that with expanded, if I hold down left trigger and right trigger, I get a whole new set of actions. Same thing, left trigger and right trigger, and they're in fact different sets of actions. So you can see here it says set 2 in the linking, and then set 3 for the double tap in this case is up here. But let's go ahead and say we go into actions and traits, and let's say you want to drag and drop a skill onto 3. You won't be able to because you actually have to go directly to 3 to actually set that ability. And you can see here that I just did that right then and there. So it has that functionality. If you're just purely using a controller, you can set skills another couple ways. You can actually press like your menu option button, and it will actually have it say, hey, hold the palette to go ahead and set. So then you can just kind of hold the trigger and then press a button, and you can go ahead and set it that way. If you wanted to delete it, you can again press and hold the, like in this case left, press the select to bring up my edit hotbar controls, and I can double tap to delete something off my hotbar. So you actually can set skills on your hotbars without ever having to drag and drop. But if let's say you wanted to, just for old sake, and you don't have a mouse, you can press the left bumper and right R3 click to actually turn your right stick into a mouse cursor. Then you can actually drag. You can use the left click, drag, and you can actually drop it onto various bars. In this case, if I wanted to see that, there you go. And I can just drag it off as well. Note that if you're used to the keyboard and mouse and are having issues actually setting skills onto any particular floating hotbar, it could be that your hotbars are locked. So just look for the lock symbol on hotbar 3, and that should be able to release it for you. To get out of virtual mask mode, hold left bumper and right click, and R3, and then you're going to be good to go. And then all of a sudden your right stick becomes a camera control again. All right, let me just jump back in here real quick under the character configuration, hotbar settings, and then custom. Like I said, hotbar is set to 3 left and 3 right. Same thing for 2 left and 2 right. And then I also have customization where my weapon is sheathed and drawn. By pressing right bumper, I can just, tap it. It will cycle between 7 and 8 in this case, as well as 1. And if my weapon is out, it will not let me tap. You have to hold right bumper and then press ABXY up, down, left, and right to be able to tap between your different options. At the end of the day, I would highly encourage you guys, to check out my ultimate guide. You can also let me know if you have any questions about any and all of this in the comments, and that way I can try to address it in future videos. But as far as it goes, that should be a good basic setup for getting you started. Now I think it's time that we actually focus in on the actions that I've got laid out and what they do and why I've got them set up the way that I do. And obviously these will be adjusted as raids and more kind of come together, and as I test these in the hardest level of content as well. So note that this character is currently level 80, so there will be future updates to this primer as a more detailed guide is set to come. So if you haven't subscribed again, highly encourage you to check out that channel. And well, you're already here. Highly encourage you to hit the subscribe button, and I appreciate it. So first and foremost, let's go ahead and get into the hotbar settings themselves. We've got a lot to cover. We're going to focus here on the right hand side, and then we're going to go on the left hand side. So first and foremost, I've got on the right A button, if you think of it, A, B, Y, X on PlayStation controllers is the same setup. You would just obviously use the positional, and then you have up, down, left, and right. As a note before we talk about skills themselves, I like to position any kind of skill that I especially want to be able to use on the move on an ABXY versus something on an up, down, left, right. There are exceptions to the rule. Muscle memory is going to be the key saving grace that you have here, but just note that that's a very important aspect. Here I've got Diagnosis, which is a heal spell, 400 potency. It's like your cure if you're coming from White Mage. Note that if I enhance it with Eucrasia, I now have it with a same cure potency, but I have an ability to put a shield, and then if you crit, an even bigger shield on another player. It cannot be stacked with obviously Galvanized from the Scholar, but note that the MP cost goes up dramatically. I tried to actually point at the tooltip with the mouse, and that wasn't going to work. So this essentially is going to be a bigger MP spender, but it's still important nonetheless. Here's what is great about it, is that where Diagnosis has a cast time, Eucrasian Diagnosis does not. It's an insta-cast. So you can be on the move and easily be shielding yourself or others on the go, and that's going to be a huge help for you as a Sage. Then you have Dola Roche here. It's going to restore target's HP. It's got a cure potency of 600. It's much bigger. It's got a 7% maximum HP restore, and you'll notice something as a Sage that at least I currently notice is that MP is a real thing that you want to be aware of. This is going to use your Addergall's cost, and right now I've got 3 gems of Addergall, so I can go ahead and pop that off. And you can put out a lot of healing with just that aspect and also restore your MP at the same time, and it's going to continue to have and use those Addergalls. If you ever run out of an Addergall, I recommend Rishamashavashur, however that's pronounced. It's going to give you 1 free gem charge, and that's going to be kind of a saving grace, especially if you end up having to kind of burst heal anybody down or up in this case. Dola Roche here, it's going to have a cure potency of 700. It also has an Addergall's cost, but it has a recast time of 45 seconds. So you can use this obviously very more. This is a little bit bigger of a heal, but it's also going to reduce damage taken by 10%. And this does not stack with your Dola Roche's additional effect of the reduction of a damage. So note that these work real well, but the defensive up stack does not actually apply. So the AoE defensive up stack versus single target AoE stack. We've seen it already. Eucrasia, that's going to enhance certain abilities, and you'll see them kind of highlight themselves here, and we'll go over those abilities here in a second. I've got Insuna. Then I've got Hamia. I love this ability. If you guys aren't using this, be sure to do so. Still got 120 seconds recast time in this regards. What this does is it puts 5 stacks here on me of shield, and as those stacks get bursted down, it puts another stack, puts another shield on me, and then that goes on. After it expires, it's going to give me a nice little bigger cure than I would naturally get in this regard. Then over here we've got Physis 2. This is going to be gradually restores your own HP and all nearby with a potency of 130 with a duration of 15 seconds, and it increases HP recovering by healing actions by 10%. So this is a really good instacast ability, especially when you want to start out your kind of healing rotation as needed. So note that it increases your effectiveness of heals as well as puts that instant dot hot essentially on them as well. And then you have Holos. This is going to restore your own HP and MP of nearby 300. So a bigger heal overall than this. Reduces damage taken by self and nearby party members by 10%. So in a burst healing window that you need to get everybody up, FFXIV and Holos are really good to pair almost instantly to be able to kind of get the most effectiveness going on in the party itself. So that's essentially the right hand side. Let's jump into our left hand side. Right now I've got a Cresian Diagnosis. This is essentially deals unexpected damage over time. The normal effect, if I go and just apply this with just Diagnosis, and then these spells also evolve. You can see Diagnosis 2. It's going to be your standard hitter, your standard attack spell that's going to do damage. Now anybody on the damaging spells that is being hit as you attack is going to benefit from Cardion. I got that actually here on the expanded, but we'll go into it. Cardion is going to be, as you do damage, is going to cure out 130 HP. It's kind of like you got to do damage in order for that to go out, and it's just a single like 130 potency cure that is going out, but it is what it is. It needs to be. Then I've got Rescara, I can't pronounce that, deals unexpected damage with a potency 160 to all nearby. You do not need a target for this. You can just fire it off and it's going to be a nice AoE attack. I got Phlegma, which evolves into Phlegma 2. This is a charged ability with 45 seconds on charge time. It does a lot of damage. This is actually really great. It's because it's also an AoE, but you do require a target. The only weakness of this is its range. It only has a 6 yards range as opposed to like something where you can cast it from far, like 25 yalms. So you're going to have to be kind of more up close and personal. You don't have to be right on the target, but it is something that you will have to get used to as you adjust. Then I have another Eucresia, same spot over here on the left and right. So I usually think more curing, holding down right trigger, holding down left trigger, more attacks. This is obviously going to impact and change up how my abilities play. Solarita, this is a 90-second cooldown, but it's going to increase my cure and potency of Cardia by 50%. So this is really nice. And every 90 seconds, you can just fire this off as you do damage, as you go more into a damage phase. This is really important to have up because it's going to keep you from having to leave that phase to go heal the tank or whoever you've got Cardia on. And then I got another copy of FFXIV here, again, restoring HP with that potency. I have this up here kind of as an up, left, and then down in terms of FFXIV to kind of get that base healing going up. Then Irishell, this is going to use Adder Skull in this regards, and that's going to restore MP and also have a bigger cure potency with an insta cast. And then Eucresian Prognosis that has been enhanced, which is that cure potency as well as the shield. So you can see here, boop. Now the cure potency goes down when you go ahead and put the shielding up with it, but it does have the ability to put that, obviously the shield on others, and it cannot be stacked with like the Scholar's Galvanize. So just note that that's going to be how it functions overall. Let's go ahead and go into our 2 left and 2 right, so you can see kind of them listed here. On the right hand side, I've got Icarus, which is going to draw you to whoever target you've got selected. Swift Cast, which is going to make any spell immediately cast. I've got Elgarto. This is your raise spell, and then I've got Cardia that I can apply. Typically I find myself not using Cardia as much, but it's just nice to be able to change up as needed. Then Phantoma, which is also, you'll see it up over here. This is the spell that you get by unlocking level 80. It's like Higma, but essentially it does an AoE version of it, thus applying the 5 stacks to you and to the party as well. All right, and then I have Rescue if I need to pull somebody out of bad. Over here I've got Phlegma, in this case I upgraded to 2, Dicastria, Toxicon, so I guess we've already covered these ones, and then we've Icarus, but Toxicon is going to deal unexpected damage to a target and all enemies nearby with a potency of 300 for the first enemy, 50% less for the rest. Just restores HP to the target under Cardion in this regards. This is a really good spell. It does use Adder Sting points, so as you use your abilities, you're going to build up Adder Sting that allows you to kind of go into a Toxicon phase. The nice thing about this is it's instacast as well, and it's AoE. I wanted to have an easy access to it as necessary, so if I was like, in a typical damage phase, I could still have access to that ability without having to double tap all the time and without having to sacrifice these abilities on the go that I want access to. Cardion being one of Eucresia being one of them, because that obviously augments my abilities and turns more abilities into instacast abilities. So that's my logic behind all that. Another option for Eucresia, another option for Raise and Swift Cast, kind of as a mirror opposite of what I've got it here. I wanted the fact that I have it instant ABXY, but if I'm over here doing different things and still need to use it, I can. A copy of Dosis in this regard. So we've seen all those abilities before. As we go into Hotbar 3, I've got Lucid Dreaming. My Limit Break, you should always have a Limit Break on a bar. As a healer, this is going to be invaluable to you. Phantomaga, we just covered that, as well as a copy of Toxicon, a copy of Helios, a copy of Pepsis. Actually, I don't think I've covered Pepsis for you. Pepsis is only valuable if you're removing Eucrucian Diagnosis or Prognosis on the target. So it restores HP to you and all nearby, but they have to have that shield up. So do not use Pepsis, otherwise you're not going to get any value out of it. Zoe is going to enhance your healing spell, and the reason I have it over here is mirrored over here is that if I go into and needing to do healing again on this section right here, then I can easily pop up and pop a Zoe to overall enhance all of those abilities. And so that's that side. Over here, I've got another version of Swiftcast. If I want to easily Swiftcast by a double tap, Surecast is going to prevent me from knockback and as well as draw in effects. And then we covered Pepsis, Zoe, and then we covered this kind of where it just gives you a stack of Adder Skull. If you're capped, it just is wasted. And Karashul, this is reduces damage taken by self and nearby party members by 10%. And it also adds an additional effect of regen with a cure potency of 100 for 15 seconds. So you kind of have two different ways of putting out regens on people as a healer. You have Karashul and you also have Physis too. So those are a lot of different ways to keep people up, especially during big pulls, reducing damage taken and increasing your overall healing ability. So those go hand in hand. And then you also have, hollows here. So those are the skills. Those are the abilities. That's how I've got it laid out. I'm gonna try to do something in future videos as well as maybe in this one. I can't do it today for you at the time of recording, but just check the links in the description or a pinned comment as I create macros to set these skills for you. It's something I want to try to do going into the Endwalker skill set, is the ability to actually give you guys the macros just so you can auto equip my layout, and then that way you can kind of go and then make it your own. I can't promise you at the time that you're listening to this that that's done, but note that that's something I want to work on, and I will let you guys know when that is done, and that you can hopefully enjoy and make it a little bit easier on you guys. You guys asked for a couple more guides and things like that, so we'll keep working on those here for you. If you guys are loving MMORPGs, this would probably be a good place for you. I like video games a lot, maybe too much. Well, you can let me know one way or the other. I'm gonna wish you guys the best. I don't want to make this video longer than it needs to be. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy Endwalker, and until next time, take care.